And just like that, we're live. We're back. What's that?
And just like that.
And just like that.
You know, we were having a sidebar
I don't
conversation.
Care. It's exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, do you want a cup of coffee, Mr. Pappas?
Steve Pappas would like a cup of coffee from the Times Argus.
From the Times Argus.
From the Times Argus.
Cream or sugar?
Just black. It's fine.
Black. That is a real journalist right there. No journalist like fooling around, wasting time with creamer and cream and sugar. We don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that crap.
You just got to get right to the black coffee, get it out of the pot, get it in the cup, down the throat as quickly as possible.
Why don't you do your intro so everyone actually appreciates the nature of the Aired Out podcast?
All right. We are live with Steve Pappas at 5.
Let's try it again. Ready?
All right. Yeah, one more time. We're live with Steve Pappas of the Barre Montpelier Times Argus in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coastal snowstorm. It's working its way up the coast. It's a nor'easter, mostly going to be out in the ocean, but impacting the New England coast. Boston's supposed to get 2 feet of snow.
My family who lives up on Mount Desert Island up near Bar Harbor, they're supposed to get up to 3 feet.
Are you kidding me?
Minimum 18 inches, but it could be up to 3 feet.
Really?
Yeah. And then, but you go inland, not far.
Yeah.
Like as far as like Bangor and Brewer, and they're talking like, you know, a handful of inches.
Wow.
And then what we're getting, I mean, and it's coming like right across the country and then kind of circling up.
Sure.
But yeah, we're not supposed to get hardly anything.
Yeah, and I've heard all kinds of things, 1 to 3, but mostly wind and a wind chill. Wind chill warning at 10 o'clock tonight goes into effect.
Tomorrow morning, yes.
But some areas in Connecticut, Massachusetts could see well over a foot. National Weather Service says southern Vermont will only see between an inch and 3 inches, and even less to the north. But temperatures, though, that's the thing, bitterly cold for the entire weekend. And the wind chill warning. So, yeah, keep that wood stove going.
I feel like we had that conversation before. I wrote an editorial early in the week about how, you know, we don't know the data yet, but this could be one of the coldest Januaries we've had on record.
Yeah, you know, Sherilyn said to me last night, have we had
the
January thaw? No, the January thaw.
No.
We
had the December thaw. Remember, December was balmy.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I think the January thaw was in December. And then, you know, we've had periods in January and February where it was sustained below zero for, you know, like 10, 11 days.
Right.
But I don't remember it being consistently like 17, 18 below.
Right.
I mean, there were parts of Central Vermont that were minus 22.
I know.
Just without the wind chill.
Sure, without the wind chill.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
In the grottos.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Some might say and you just said period. Some might say the period came early. What's your editorial about in the Times Argus?
So today's editorial is generating a bit of a buzz. I read through the weekly mortality and morbidity report, which is put out by the CDC.
Wow.
Which I know it sounds exciting already, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the report shows that during a period of time of, I believe it was April to December, which was the peak in which we were dealing with the Delta variant, that we can now see that vaccinations worked. Not that we didn't see it before, but that the numbers of vaccinations around the country led to a significant decrease in COVID incidents. The incidents that we have seen since December, or early on when Omicron hit, has hit unvaccinated individuals.
Yes.
And this report, excuse me, that came out confirms in peer-reviewed medical journal that unvaccinated individuals are putting themselves at risk by not being vaccinated. And my editorial essentially puts out a call once again that if you are not vaccinated, you are doing nobody any favors, especially yourself and the rest of us who are wearing masks to protect you. Now there's data that says that, you know, you can say that you're not going to do it for whatever reason. You're puting yourself at risk.
The naysayers don't care, though. I mean, I read a story yesterday about a 16-year-old, I can't remember where, who basically his whole entire family was a bunch of naysayers, and they pretty much ordered him to not get the vaccination. But at 16, he went ahead. He looked at things objectively and went ahead and made the decision to get himself vaccinated, and did, and tried to keep it hush from his family, who found out about it, and they basically have all disowned him.
Wow.
I mean, you know, big story. So, you know, it's
that happened in central Vermont?
No, I can't remember where, but I mean, there's some pretty strong naysayers out there.
Well, I mean, there are,
and you know, and some might say, and those are the ones that are going to keep this virus going.
Well, except
broad statement, I know, but I mean, it's what I've heard.
They're dying.
Yeah,
I mean, we're seeing deaths every day. Early on in COVID, when the numbers were high, and Governor Scott was telling us to flatten the curve,
right,
and, you know, to be smart about what we're doing.
Yeah,
we were not seeing. I mean, it took forever to get to 50 deaths in Vermont.
Right.
You know, now I haven't seen the numbers yet today, but the last few days, it's been 7 here, 4 there, 2 here.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost every day.
Yeah,
we're seeing deaths that are related to Omicron.
Yeah,
and the hospitalizations are up. It's still up over 100.
Yeah, over 100. Yeah, it was just a couple of weeks ago that we were saying Omicron hasn't hit the United States yet, but it's imminent. Look what's happening now.
Well, and this week, so the governor's news conference on Tuesday was all about how, you know, he was touting the fact that we had turned the corner. Mm-hmm. And then yesterday the numbers jumped by almost 900.
Yeah.
Or more than 900.
Right.
And
huge.
That was a big jump. And, you know, we're still in that phase of just not understanding and not being able to put the policies in place that are going to actually, you know, flatten the curve again, honestly, is what we're, you know, that message early on worked so well.
Right.
And now we're not hearing that. We're not, you know, and people like me are being accosted on the street for spreading lies, for, you know, you're not helping the cause any. The cause of what? You know, public health? We want, you know, we all say that we want to go back to normal. We just proved that through the holidays we couldn't do that. We didn't do that.
I don't understand how you could be accosted for spreading lies. I mean, what are they founding? Where are they basing this off of? I mean, it's just
their own conspiracy theories.
Holy
I mean, not
shit.
Facts. I mean, Jeez. I'll tell you that most of the people who come at the paper, and me in particular, are usually coming at me with something that they've heard somewhere else, that they say that they trust that source more than they trust data, science, and vetted news.
Right.
And that source is far more reliable to them than these other things. And that because I don't subscribe, or I'm not willing to go down that path with them, that I'm clearly in cahoots with somebody to make sure that everybody, you know, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I don't have time to be a propaganda machine for anybody.
Yeah.
I can barely be a propaganda machine for the Times-Argus and the Rutland Herald.
Right.
So
Julie's got it here. 882 new cases today, 532 deaths, 106 hospitalized with 25 in the ICU.
Those are the new numbers for today?
Yeah.
What time is it? They usually aren't posted till 1, but
this may be yesterday's numbers.
Okay. I I don't remember the breakdown of the numbers off the top of my head. But
106. I mean, 25 in the ICU. I mean, I remember when.
Yeah, but that's been consistent. That's been consistent, and that number, 25. I mean, anything over 20 is maxing out the ICUs in the state. We just don't have the capacity, the bed capacity for that.
There was a report this morning in Vermont that the hospitals are backed up right now with non-COVID elderly patients who are very much in need to go to a skilled nursing facility. They're not taking any more.
Right.
They're understaffed. They're running at capacity. Many of them, if not all of them. I mean, this is a crisis.
Well, and it's been a crisis, and it's going to continue to be a crisis. Fortunately, the state is taking certain steps toward pumping money into programs that, can potentially bring more nurses to Vermont. I mean, what we're trying to do is not have – I mean, we're grateful right now that we have so many traveling nurses here.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
Of course they are.
We're paying top dollar to have.
Bernie and Phil were just on the State House lawn a couple of weeks ago saying that, I can't remember what the number was. So obviously don't quote me, but it was something like 56 or 86. I can't remember. And I'm embarrassed because I should know. But it was millions, tens of millions of dollars that we've spent just on traveling nurses.
Yeah.
Not the others. Right. Not the others. Just the travelers.
The number,
Julie says these numbers are updated at 11:05 this morning. 106 hospitalized, 25 ICU.
What was the main number? How many COVID cases? 800?
Yep. 882 with cases with 532 deaths. And once again, 106 hospital, 25 ICU. 11 o'clock this morning.
Yep.
So, wow.
Yep.
Wow, man.
Is it news that somebody just backed into that car over there?
Did they really?
Yeah.
Should I throw my camera on it?
No. It's all right. I just reported it for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes, but we don't have proof that it happened because our cameras didn't capture it. So we're both not going to be going to court for that one. The state auditor's report. Can we talk about it?
So the state auditor, Doug Hoffer, came out with a report earlier this week that looks at what is so the state auditor does investigations of processes in state government and looks to see how efficient they are, if they're run well. And one of the things that he looked at was what is called the annual outcomes report, which is put out by the Office of Administration. And the outcomes report has about a dozen indicators that determines how well Vermont is doing. Well, the auditor basically did an investigation of that state report and the data that's going into it and the indicators that are being provided, and said that it is not actually a good tool for determining the health of our state and how we're doing. And he said, we really need a whole another mechanism for that, and that, what we're getting is not a true picture of how our state government is doing. This is somebody who oversees state government is now saying, nope, the whole system's broke to the point where we really need different outcomes and different indicators, because the very things that we're looking at are parts of the problem, like median income, like the poverty level in the state, like, certain things like that, while you can extrapolate certain numbers from them, the measurement that comes from it is completely askew as a result. And it's so outdated that he said we can't actually govern in a meaningful way without, good data. And the person who pulls it together, that information, acknowledged that, basically said that's an overstatement. There's really nothing wrong with the report. But we are looking at different indicators now, because we need to be brainstorming those and bring this up. You know,
I wonder if he's had some coffee with Phil lately.
He hasn't had coffee with Doug Hoffer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's probably got Doug Hoffer's picture up on the wall that he,
Darts?
throws things at. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a harsh indictment of, when somebody comes out and as boldly as that says that the checks and balances that we use to determine the effectiveness of our state government actually is ineffective. There's a,
Yeah.
I don't know all the definitions of irony, but that's one of them. And I kind of go through some of the details of that in my editorial for tomorrow's edition, where I kind of analyze what the key findings of that report were.
Yes.
And agree that maybe if we're going to be applying some checks and balances and logic to how we grade ourselves, that we don't cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you, I asked you
I remember it was a hard day. It was that day where that guy came in with a thing with the stuff, and it was rugged.
Yeah, that day.
Yeah.
I asked you point blank if you have been invited on the Barry Beat podcast, and I think you had said no at that point.
I have been invited.
You have been?
I was invited yesterday, and I have respectfully turned it down.
Why?
It would not be good optics for the editor of the newspaper to come on a show with a candidate running for mayor.
Okay, I understand.
That would be unfair to. Thank you, Raylene.
Notice she brings you a cup of coffee.
I asked for a cup of coffee,
but my cup over here completely empty.
Do you want me? Well, why don't you come over here and I'll pour some of this in there?
Well, I might have to, because obviously, she's
that's a hot cup of coffee.
No respect for me.
No, the optics would be bad, and that would not be fair to Mr. Hemrick if I was spending my time with Mr. Maury.
I agree.
And
after these guys, these are logical.
The election,
these are logical guys. They've got to see that.
No, and they gave me the out if I wanted it, and I didn't. I would have taken it. I would have taken the out regardless, and said, when I saw the invitation, my response, regardless of the out, would have been, "Yep, I'll see you after the election. I'll see you after March 1st."
So you'll go on the air at some point with these boys.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's great.
Yeah. Why did you bring that up?
I was just wondering.
Okay. So.
Because I was out of the.
You were wandering?
No, just wondering. The political climate right now, Barre Montpelier, is on fire.
The Montpelier mayor's race is going to be very interesting. Incumbent Ann Watson is running, and one of her most strident critics, Steve Whitaker, is running against her. Steve Whitaker is a homeless resident of Montpelier, and has been advocating for years, on behalf of the homeless population and the vulnerable population in Montpelier, and has felt like Montpelier at many levels has not done enough to take steps to help that population, and has been in their face at meetings, and kind of started off in this role of gadfly, but then became a squeaky wheel, and to the point where they were trying to in meetings, put time limits on how long people could speak, because he's a little long-winded, and he's very kind of in your face. And interestingly, when people don't like that, when people don't like criticism like that, you try and come up with ways to counter it and dodge it and all this. Well, he's running for mayor because the rules changed this year. Again, the legislature was asked to put essentially a waiver into place that does not require a petition for folks to get signatures. I'm not sure that Mr. Whitaker would have gotten enough signatures to be on the ballot otherwise, and has seized the opportunity as a transient. His residency is declared as a resident of Montpelier, even though he's homeless, and he's going to seek the mayor's seat. Ann Watson has been in that seat for a while now, and is well liked in the community. But Mr. Whitaker has certainly turned the tables of the conversation about that particular population against this council and this mayor. And so I think the debate that you're going to see coming out of, this is somebody who is not afraid to say what he thinks, and does not care about politics, and does not care about, just wants answers and wants the right thing and wants a change in leadership. And I think that I don't know that his chances are great of winning, but it is going to be a noisy campaign, I guarantee, in Montpelier.
Isn't that interesting? And I think there's a whole hell of a lot of people now in society that just want it straight up. They want to hear. They don't want the political jargon. They want to hear it unfiltered, uncensored. They just want some bold statements.
And Montpelier has a tendency to
sugarcoat.
They try very hard to be PC. They want to be socially progressive, and they want to be PC.
Very.
And that's I'm generalizing. We're both generalizing.
We are.
We both feel that that's kind of the case. It's not really the case. It's just the things that come out of the Montpelier City Council tend to, the things that get traction on Front Porch Forum and on Facebook and in the newspaper.
We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Or we want to be ahead. Montpelier was the first in the state to have a Black Lives Matter flag hanging over the school. Montpelier had the Black Lives Matter banner on the street. There are certain things that they feel very strongly about. Banning plastic bags. They were doing that before the state did it.
Right.
And
it's a progressive city.
It may be the most progressive capital city in the nation. I would venture a guess. Also, the smallest capital city in the nation, by the way,
and still the only one that does not have a McDonald's.
Yeah, yes, that is absolutely true. And they're proud to keep it that way.
Yes.
And there are people in the community who take great pride in the positions that the city has taken, and then there's a population, as you say, in Montpelier who's like, really, can we just have some answers? Can we cut the budget? Can we stop paying such high taxes?
Right.
Can we put up? How come there's no place to go to the bathroom in downtown Montpelier?
Right.
Things of that nature that are troublesome. So, and Mr. Whitaker is, like I said, maybe the squeakiest wheel there is.
Maybe this is an unfair question to you, and if it is, you tell me to pound sand. Would you be shocked if Mr. Whitaker won?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look
at Fred Tuttle. My God.
Yeah, but Fred Tuttle was a prop for something else, and you couldn't dislike Fred Tuttle.
Yeah.
Mr. Whitaker is an abrasive person, and I don't think even people who agree with him necessarily would say, you know what, that guy would make a good mayor.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the next few weeks of a campaign, other than being, who's got the most to say and who can say it the loudest. That doesn't necessarily get you anywhere.
But what about the Barre elections? Everybody's talking right now.
Are they?
You
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Really?
Yes, they are. And you just took a huge, deep breath and a big sigh when I said Barre elections.
Yeah.
For the record here. And there it is. There's another one. There's another one.
I think I'm just breathing, dude. The COVID has.
Yeah.
So, see?
Yeah.
What was the question?
That was a cough. That was a stall tactic.
Yeah. What was the question?
The Barre elections.
So yeah, I mean, there's a fair amount to talk about.
Yeah.
I think that the Maury Hemmerich kind of dynamic is an interesting one. Mm-hmm. I don't know enough about either one of them to know how they would be as mayor. So I think that what's going to be important over the next few weeks, and keep in mind, town meeting's only a month
it's
and
a month.
few days away. We've got to kind of take these guys out for sea trials and find out what is the plan, because you have to look at what's happening in the city right now. Mm-hmm. So Steve McKenzie is on his way out. Mm-hmm. Carol Dawes has been talking about being done. Mm-hmm. You lose two key people like that at once, and and I think that both of them are going to stay on in some capacity.
Okay.
But I don't think either one of them will just walk away.
Yeah.
But that's a seismic change in the leadership of City Hall. Mm-hmm. Without Lucas, that's a seismic change in the mayor's position. We're about to get an influx of a lot of money. And the decisions that need to be made over the next 2 years need to be decisions that leverage that ARPA money that's coming in so that we are making more money and doing more for the city and more for the infrastructure to bring more people here, to bring more business to town, to bring more families to town, to make improvements to the community, to keep the tax rate down, to all of those things. That is going to require a level of leadership that is going to mean calls to the administration all the time. That is going to be calls to the delegation all the time. That is going to be a commitment as mayor that is far beyond what we have seen right now, because we can't just sit back and say we're going to cash the checks, because we have to have the plans in place to be able to commit to the checks that we're going to be cashing.
Yeah.
And that is not something that we can just sit idly by and allow to happen. It can't, whoever the mayor is going to be has to be a big cheerleader for Barre. They have to be at the front of the line for it. Worked into every conversation, and they need to be there with their hand out and say, we want money for that project.
They have to be very outspoken.
It doesn't matter who it is. I'm not saying it's one candidate or the other. Whoever the mayor is going to be over the next 2 years needs to be front and center.
I agree.
And it has to be. It's going to have.
They have to not be worried about
we have a
hurting feelings. Either.
We have a weak mayor system in Barre. It is essentially a strong mayor position that this person has to be in for the next 2 years. It needs to be a full-time position.
Right.
And to make the commitment to say that you're going to run for mayor right now basically means you are about to surrender your life for the next 2 years, because you are going to be a slave to bureaucracy.
I agree.
And you are going to have to be cutting the tape. You are going to have to be throwing the elbows.
Yeah. And
you're going to have to be running what could be a very strange council.
Well, Lozon's want to come back to the table.
So Lozon and Sue Higbee are two of the strongest personalities in this community.
Oh, amen.
One of them is going to be on the council. And no questions asked. Both of them can run the table, right? But they both can direct the conversation. I guess the only thing that I will say is it would be really interesting if they were both on the council at the same time. I mean, and they were when Tom was mayor, but
that might make things interesting enough to actually tune in to the Zoom meetings to watch city council meeting on Tuesday nights.
I mean,
with popcorn.
It's hard to know. The potential dynamic of what this council is going to be, and they have been surprising over the last couple of weeks. They've had some pitches come high and inside, and I thought they were going to take a swing here and take a swing there, and they didn't. But then the next time at bat, they took a swing, and there have been a few. There clearly have been some behind the scenes conversations of change the tune, and and I think Steve McKenzie was the leading birdie in the ear of a lot of the councilors on that local option tax vote. And I don't think he would deny that. I think he feels that this is the opportunity and that this is the chance for that to be put forth, and that it has a chance. And clearly there are a lot of people who do not believe that and think it's a bad idea. And I don't know. I mean, I think he's right in some ways. Barre typically has not supported, well, not typically, Barre has not supported a local option tax.
Right.
And they like a balanced budget.
Yeah.
And they like, they like it the way they like it.
That's right.
And the wards are pretty firm on that.
Yes.
And until new families come to Barre, the politics of this city aren't gonna. The wards aren't gonna change that much.
We just got a question here.
Is it from Mike Booton?
How did you know? I haven't even asked the question.
Well, because I can't come on the show, but he's going to ask me questions through your show.
I mean, all I said is we have a question, and you're already thinking that it's Booton?
What's Mike's question?
But which one can pick up the phone and call the administration, Sue or Tom?
Well, I mean, Tom has proven that he is willing to throw an elbow. I think that Sue is a very smart person, and she has Barry's interests in mind. Absolutely. It's a different version of Barry. And I don't, I'm not sure that we've ever, had the full vision. And again, same as Montpelier, the next 4 weeks need to be really interesting as far as how we kind of, what the questions are posed to these candidates, and what's the, what are we looking at? Excuse me, and how is it going to sugar off as far as the issues? I do not see either one of those two being there. There's a lot of history there between them. I think that if there are debates, and I expect there will be, they'll be heated. I don't know. I mean, we don't have a widespread change of the council, but the dynamic is enough of a change in mayor and Higbee / Lozon on the council that and the potential change in leadership at City Hall. You're looking at a lot of different dynamics coming up for the next 2 years. And again, I will say it again, I really personally don't give a shit about the politics of it. What I give a shit about is that they're able to pull down that money and use it wisely. Because again, it's not just spending what you have; it is leveraging that money,
right,
so that we're continuing to get more money out of it.
Sure.
You don't just spend what they give you. You
right.
figure out a way to make it go even farther, whether it's grants or federal funding or whatever, matching grants.
Or who's going to fix up the Wheelock building?
Yep.
That was a big exhale.
Yep. I'm not touching that with a cattle prod.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy, a lot of comments coming in. Moving right along. No, there's a lot.
it all began.
And we should say here, and let's give a plug for these boys, the Barry Beat podcast. Monday nights, they've turned it into a 7 o'clock live thing, and that's kind of been a little bit of a staple here for a while. So tune in if you want to hear more about the Wheelac building, or go back and watch some of the last couple of podcasts, because they've been talking about it a whole hell of a lot. The tower, is it too tall? What's going on with that?
Well, you tell me. If you have a ridge line,
Talking about the tower in Williamstown.
or Worcester, the other W town, and one of the other W towns that we have in central Vermont,
Right.
yeah, Worcester,
Oh, I thought it was the
Worcester,
hello. Sorry. That's all right.
Worcester,
We're
Worcester.
not going to edit it out.
Whoa,
I just got fired upon with the Nerf
with
gun.
something not big enough.
It was Worcester. Worcester. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so there was a meeting.
I know that they're fighting about a tower somewhere. All right. I don't know what town it's in. All right.
It's a really big debate.
Breaking my nads.
Okay, I'm almost done breaking your nads.
All right. Go ahead.
So, I was going to say something,
Oh, go
but then
ahead,
I
say
decided
it.
no.
He doesn't have any nuts?
So the town of Worcester, a company from Massachusetts that represents a cell phone company, has come in and said that they would like to put in a 198-foot tower on the top of a hill right outside the village of Worcester. A 200-foot tower is taller than a tree by quite a bit. And, usually you have these trees that are supposed to, these towers that are supposed to blend in and look like a tree. Or,
Yes.
Well, this is 200 feet tall.
Yes.
We don't have a lot of 200-foot trees on top of ridgelines in Vermont.
Yeah.
So it was going to come up pretty high. The question has become, and the town of Worcester and the Planning Commission in Worcester.
Do we have enough fake branches? Is that the question?
Well, the question has become, are we going to stand up to these folks and say, and to the Public Utilities Commission and say, not going to happen. And there's a timetable in this. There's 60 days from the end of December in which the town can respond. And it looks like they're going to try and ask for another 60 days because the clock, these things are timed such that these companies come in, they start the clock right around the holidays, and then everyone gets busy with the holidays. Then they get into the new year, and
That's
then
right.
they, work on their gym membership for a little while, and then they're like, oh, wow, that cell tower thing, how much time do we have left on that? And then it's, all of a sudden it's 30 days left, and they have to have their response. So it appears the town is going to say that they want an extension to be able to properly kind of debate and oppose.
Right.
The select board has already said they don't think it's a good idea. The planning commission for the town has already looked at all of the master plan and everything and said it doesn't go along with what we want or what we have said historically we want. But some residents in the town are saying, you know what?
Right.
We could benefit from some decent cell service.
Yes.
And we could benefit from,
that whole region is deader than a doorknob.
And
if you're heading out on Route 12 and you're headed to
Elmore,
Wolcott, Elmore, Morrisville,
you're not getting anything for a while.
For a long time.
And that is one of the concerns, is that there is a dead zone out there. The question is...
Oh, my God, there's dead zones everywhere.
There's a lot... Yes. The question has become, does this tower need to be as high as it is? Does it really need to be 200 feet? And the answer appears to be no, because there are slots along the way up where other cell phone companies can rent space on the tower.
Yeah.
So it's about money. It's about using the tower and this one company potentially making money. And I'm not going to say the company name because I'm actually not 100% sure which cellular provider it is. I know that the company that is representing them is from Massachusetts. So about 80 people showed up virtually on Tuesday night.
Wow.
To basically, I mean, that's big. That's more attendance that they get than they get at town meeting.
Sure.
Basically saying, not going to happen on our watch. There were there was a minority of people, very small minority of people who said, I wouldn't mind some decent cell service. And then there was at least one guy who said, you know, the person, wherever this tower lands, that person's going to get $18,000 a year in their bank account. I could use $18,000 a year. They want to put it on my property. That's okay with me, kind of a thing. And, which wasn't what the townspeople wanted to hear. You know, they wanted to be in a unified front and say, you know, not in our town, not on our ridgeline. So ultimately what they've done is there has been this resounding no from the community, and they are buying some time so that when the proposal actually goes before the state's Public Utility Commission, that there is a united front, or at least a, you know, thick file of testimony from the community saying no. What's interesting about this, JD, is that because of the 1996 Federal Communications Commission, FCC, ruling, they don't need permission. The PUC can say it's going on that knoll, and they can put a 200-foot tower there, and to hell with what the town of Worcester wants.
Ouch.
Because it's a federal mandate, and the PUC would have to take the heat for it. The State Public Utilities Commission would take a lot of heat for allowing that to happen, but the town actually doesn't have much of a say.
Ooh.
And so it'll be
Is
interesting.
Is that part in the Times Argus?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, Dave Delcourt wrote about it. It was in Thursday's edition. Today's Friday, right? So it was in yesterday's paper, on yesterday's front page.
You know, Josh Howard he's just trying to raise the blood pressure of all of these people in Worcester right now, saying a cell tower and then wind towers will soon be next. So, my gosh. Is that necessary?
Josh.
Shut up, Josh. My God. Rattling everybody's cage.
Well, so, I mean, and there is a debate in southern Vermont right now over a wind tower that David Blittersdorf wants to put on a spot outside of Rutland called Grandpa's Knob.
Yeah, I don't agree. Yeah, sure.
And
heading up towards Castleton.
Yep, and that would be seen, if it were put there, every town that is in line of sight of it,
yeah.
He was saying it will generate a certain amount of power, and he'll divvy that up and give it to each town.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a few up there. There's a few towers up there. WDEV is up there. They've got a repeater up on Grandpa's Knob.
They do?
Yeah.
Well,
sure
the tower they're proposing is pretty tall, and it's actually a pretty big wind generator, and they want to do it in the spirit of somebody who had a wind facility up there at one time. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, he claims it's a historic, you know, spot for that, and why not? And the towns around there are like,
Yeah.
Poultney's no, Proctor's no. I think West Rutland is still like on the fence, but of the 5 towns down there that would be in line sight of it,
yeah,
they're like,
hell no. Yeah.
But, you know, personally, I will tell you that when I drive out toward Craftsbury and up that that way to the Kingdom, I'm not offended by the view of those windmills. I mean, I actually, you know, they come into view and I'm kind of like, oh my God, those things are so cool.
I know.
They're so big.
Same thing.
They're so big. And
Same
then
for me.
Immediately I'm thinking, is the wind really turning that thing? You know? How does that work?
I know.
And what's wrong with that one? And
yeah, that one's not working.
Yeah.
We need
somebody put some oil on that thing.
a bit of rust.
Yeah. So
you know, Sherilyn almost drove off the road laughing. This past summer, we were heading out of Rutland up towards Castleton, and I said to her, you see that mountain right there? And she said, yeah. And I said, you know what that mountain's called? And she said, what? I said, Grandpa's Knob.
Oh, Vermont.
What is a knob, though? I mean, anyway.
GD.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not. I'm not going ahead. I'm trying to retreat at this point. I'm trying to.
Pappas is blushing.
No, I'm good. Good. This is good coffee, by the way.
Changes the subject.
Yeah, changing the subject. Yeah.
Listen, I know we're going to wrap up here.
Yeah, I have to. I actually have to go. I've got to refine testimony. Yeah. I'm giving testimony this afternoon in the legislature.
Wow.
So,
before you go,
there's a debate on whether public notices should be in print and in electronic media.
Oh.
And the newspaper people say no.
The newspaper people are saying
no. It shouldn't be in electronic media.
Just put it in the paper.
In the paper, where it's been historically since papers started printing in the United States.
Okay.
Okay. It's a big revenue stream for newspapers. It's a...
Of course.
Well, you say that like you knew that.
No, I mean, of course it has been. I mean, I think everyone knows that.
Well,
historically,
you can
that's
tune
where you
into
go
the
for
legislature this afternoon, and I'll tell you just how much.
Okay.
You won't, because I don't come on. I don't watch your podcast, and you're not going to watch mine.
I'll watch anything that you tell me to watch.
No, you won't.
I bet your ass I will. If
no,
you
won't,
call
because
me,
you're going to be watching Ozark.
This is true, although I am having a difficult time getting into the season. Raylene binge watched it in like 10 straight hours. But if you tell me, Mr. Pappas, that I need to watch or listen to something, done. I'm doing it.
No, you don't have to do that.
Final question before you go. Let's be transparent here. How old are you?
What?
Come on. You're not a female. You can answer the damn question.
Whoa.
Come on.
That was a misogynistic thing to say.
It's true. Ladies don't like to answer that. You never ask a lady. I'm asking you, man to man. How old are you?
I am 53.
All right. You're 53.
Yeah.
Have you had a colonoscopy? Just yes or no is fine. I'll take either one. It's a yes or no question.
No.
You haven't?
No.
Okay. When you do, let's have a cup of coffee first, and we can go over things, and I can explain to you how it works and the shit.
I think I have a pretty good idea.
Well, you got to drink like 10 gallons of this shit.
Yeah,
and then you're on the toilet for
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know how it works.
I just had mine.
I mean, I've heard various comedians go through the.
Yeah.
You should have Rusty talk about it.
I will. I will. Rusty usually talks about his prostate checks, and does a very
graphic.
Well, he illustrates it very well. And he has on the podcast here. But I just had my first colonoscopy on Wednesday.
Is that why you're standing?
I can tell you that I'm a little bit of a coward with procedures in the hospital and stuff like that.
I just realized something.
The worst.
He's not standing. He's sitting.
Oh, you know what? That was not.
Yeah, processes in the
worst
ER.
part of it was the worst part of it was the goddamn
was
IV.
The waiting.
It was the IV, and they had to stick me 16 times for the IV because I was so dehydrated that they couldn't find an artery on me, or a vein, or whatever the hell the difference is. But that was the worst part of it. Honestly, it was nothing. It was nothing. I was like, please, more Versed so I can take a nap here. I mean, it was great. I got to look up and see the inside of me right on a big screen monitor right in front of me. It was amazing.
Did they find your brain?
They found a few other things in there. They found a Matchbox car. They found an old hamster back from the 80s. A few other things, but it was okay.
Okay. It's good talking to you.
Good talking to you,
We'll
too.
see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you then. All right. Steve Pappas.
Are you going to be posting the video of the...
I have requested the video. I have requested. But you want to talk about clean? I was cleaned out. Just cleaned out.
You were aired out, my friend.
Steve Pappas from the Times-Argus. We love to check in with him once a week. And I enjoyed our conversation today. I hope you did too. Make sure to follow the page, click like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. And whatever you do, get on timesargus.com, subscribe, get the digital version, get it on your phone. No matter where you go, you've got it right there, and you're caught up with everything that's happening in Central Vermont and beyond. One of our proud sponsors, hopefully they're still proud, Barre Montpelier Times-Argus, the Cornerstone Restaurant, Emsley's Florists and Gifts, Giroux General Transport. Billy's coming on soon, right?
He is.
Billy's coming on. Can't wait. Fontaine Forestry and Millwork, Green Mountain Mulch, Fecto Homes, Salvador and Babbitt, Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce, Barre Area Development, FGB Theaters, Gustos, CW Creative, Vermont Custom Woodworking, ASB Financial, Donnybrook Fight Promotion. We're going to be talking about the battle in Barre a whole lot here over the next couple of days. Wood Doodles, Wright Electric, Gauthier's Quality Grounds and Maintenance, Preston's Kia, Granite City MMA, and Barslow Construction. God bless everybody. Have a great rest of your day.